Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're going to be looking at something that's pretty fascinating.
Okay.
And often overlooked in the world of e-commerce. We're talking about returns.
Returns.
I'm John, and I'll be your host as always.
Hi everyone, Olivia here.
And we're going to be talking about, those mountains of clothes and electronics and pretty much everything else that gets sent back to retailers after people buy things online.
It really has exploded in recent years.
And the scale is just mind-boggling.
The scale is pretty mind-boggling.
Especially when you look at some of the numbers.
Yeah.
Like in apparel. Some apparel markets has a return rate of 50%.
50%. Yeah, think about that.
50%.
Half of all the clothes that are bought online are going back.
That's insane.
It is.
I know. I definitely contribute to that number. Especially when it comes to clothes. So why is the return rate so high, particularly for clothes?
Well, there's a couple of factors at play. One is that, shopping online removes some of the barriers that we experience in physical stores.
Right.
We're not physically handling cash.
Yeah.
And, those add to cart buttons are just so tempting.
Oh, wow.
It's so easy to just click, click, click and, overspend and overbuy when we're just browsing from our couch.
I definitely know that feeling. It's just too easy.
It is.
But
Yeah.
It's not just about impulse buying, right?
Yeah.
There's also the issue of fit and feel.
Right. You can't try things on.
Yeah.
You can't feel the fabric. You can't really see how they fit your body. You're relying on photos and size charts, which can be very misleading.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's no wonder that 34% of Amazon returns are due to size and fit issues.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because it's kind of like you're playing a guessing game with your wardrobe.
Yeah.
When you're buying online, so you kind of order multiple sizes and then just hope that one will work.
Right.
And then you return the rest.
Exactly. And,
And then there's the whole wardrobing phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Where people just buy a bunch of stuff knowing they're going to return some of it.
Yes. And,
They're basically using retailers as their own personal fitting room.
about 30% of shoppers admit to doing that.
Yep, 30%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess it's easy to fall into that trap when free returns are so common and hassle-free.
Uh-huh. It's almost like there's no consequence to,
Yeah.
ordering more than you need.
Exactly. You order 3 sizes knowing you're only going to keep one.
Right.
And it doesn't even matter to you.
Exactly. Free returns have become a major expectation for online shoppers.
Oh, yeah.
79% of shoppers consider it essential.
Really?
But only 49% of retailers actually offer it.
So almost half of retailers don't even offer it.
Right. So it's a tricky balance for them.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because they want to attract customers.
Yeah.
But they also need to manage the costs that come with returns.
Right, because it's not just shipping fees that factor into that.
Processing the return, restocking in. Yeah. Sometimes if they can't resell it, discarding it.
Absolutely.
That all costs money.
And then there's also the environmental impact.
Yeah.
Which is often overlooked.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, think about all those delivery trucks going back and forth.
Right.
Transporting all those returned items. It contributes to carbon emissions and pollution.
And the stuff that can't be resold.
Yeah.
Where does that end up?
It often ends up in landfills.
Yeah.
Which further exacerbates the problem.
No, it's like a hidden cost of convenience.
It is.
We all want to shop online because it's easy.
Right.
But we don't think about the consequences.
Right. And this is especially concerning when you think about the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Which is already one of the world's biggest polluters.
Yeah.
Returns just add to that problem.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's interesting because almost 80% of returns are due to items being damaged or broken. So are retailers doing enough to ensure the quality of their products and the packaging? That's a great point. Retailers need to take responsibility for the quality of their products and the way they're packaged for shipping.
Right.
But consumers also have a role to play.
So what can we do as consumers to be more mindful?
Well, I think it starts with asking ourselves, do I really need this?
Right.
Before we hit that buy button.
Or we click add to cart.
Exactly. We need to be more conscious consumers and think about the impact of our choices.
Yeah.
But it's also about understanding, the nuances of return policies and choosing retailers who are committed to sustainability.
So speaking of retailers, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Amazon.
Yeah.
They're the biggest player in the e-commerce world, and they have to be dealing with the crazy amount of returns.
They are. They absolutely are. So their average return rate is somewhere between 5 and 15%.
Okay.
But that includes all their products.
Right.
So things like clothing and electronics have much higher return rates.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes reaching up to 40%. And then, when you factor in how much they sell every single day,
Yeah.
even a small percentage turns into a massive logistical challenge.
It must be a nightmare for them
It is.
to process all those returns and sort them and restock or discard them.
It is. And they have 72 official reasons for returns.
Oh, yeah. I remember you mentioning that.
Which range from didn't like it to arrived too late.
Jeez.
So it's a very complex web of consumer behavior.
It's a fascinating case study.
It is.
And we'll delve deeper into the challenges Amazon faces in the next part of our deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they've become a victim of their own success.
Right.
They made it so easy and convenient to shop online.
Right.
But that convenience comes at a price.
It does.
Both for them and for the environment.
Yeah.
So let's talk about solutions.
Okay.
What are some companies doing to try to address this issue?
Well, there are a few interesting approaches emerging.
Okay.
Some companies are experimenting with virtual try-on technology.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some of that.
Yeah, using augmented reality to help shoppers visualize how clothes will fit.
So you can see it on your body before you even buy it.
Yeah, it's like a digital fitting room in your own home.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and, if that can reduce returns due to fit issues,
Right.
it can make a big difference.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then there are companies like Retornado,
Oh, yeah, we talked about them earlier.
the Swedish startup.
Yeah, remind me how their system works.
So they partner with clothing brands,
Okay.
and they manage the returns process for them.
Okay.
So when a customer wants to return something, they upload photos of the item to Retornado's platform.
So they look at it before you ship it back.
Yeah, it's like a virtual inspection.
That's really smart.
Yeah, and then Retornado decides, whether the item should be repaired or returned to the retailer or partially refunded or even disposed of locally.
So they're cutting down on all the unnecessary shipping.
Exactly.
That's a good idea.
And they've actually managed to convert 30% of returns into exchanges.
Wow. 30%.
Which is pretty impressive.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. It means that customers are getting the items that they actually want.
Right.
Without having to ship things back and forth multiple times.
It's a win-win.
It is.
For the customer and the planet.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I'd love to see if they could scale that up.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll see other companies adopting similar practices.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you mentioned earlier that different retailers have different return policies.
Right.
So what's the typical return window?
Well, the majority of shoppers, about 62%,
Okay.
expect a 30-day return window.
30 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some retailers offer shorter periods. Some offer longer, especially for certain products.
Right. Like for clothes,
Yeah.
it makes sense to have a longer return window
Exactly.
since fit is so important.
Right.
And then there are companies like Amazon with their super detailed policies, like
Yeah.
72 official reasons to return something.
I know, it's crazy.
It's like they've thought of everything.
I think it just shows how complex online retail is these days. Consumers have different expectations, and retailers are just trying to find a balance between satisfying their customers and, keeping their business running.
It's a tough spot to be in for sure.
It is. And then you add in the holiday season,
Oh, yeah.
and it becomes a whole other beast.
Holidays are crazy for returns. It's like a post-holiday return avalanche.
It is.
I'm definitely guilty of contributing to that.
I think we all are. January sees the highest number of e-commerce returns.
Really?
Yeah, because people are cleaning up from the holidays returning gifts.
Right.
And it's a very challenging time for retailers.
I bet.
Because they have this huge influx of items coming back.
Yeah, I can imagine like mountains of boxes in warehouses.
Yeah, exactly. And processing times are longer in January.
That makes sense.
Because they're just trying to keep up
Right.
with the surge.
So the holidays are a real stress test
They are.
for the whole system,
For the whole
both
set.
logistically and environmentally.
Absolutely. But it also presents a really unique opportunity.
How so?
Well, if retailers can find ways to manage the holiday returns efficiently and sustainably, they can apply those lessons year-round.
Right. It's like a microcosm of the larger challenges.
Exactly.
And this is a good time to mention our sponsor for this deep dive,
Yes.
Recora.
Recora is doing some really great work in this field of sustainable return management.
Yeah, they're using AI technology to help businesses optimize their return processes.
Yeah, they're taking a data-driven approach. They analyze return items and figure out the most profitable and sustainable way to handle them.
So like whether they should restock it or resell it or...
Yeah, or even identify fraudulent returns.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's like they're bringing intelligence to the returns process.
Right.
And I think what's really cool is that they're not just focused on reducing returns. They're trying to find the best possible outcome for each returned item.
So minimizing waste.
Yeah, maximizing value.
So if any of our listeners are struggling with returns, especially businesses,
Yeah.
definitely check out Recora.
They could be the solution you've been looking for.
Absolutely. Now let's take a step back and reflect on everything we've talked about.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
The psychology of online shopping, the environmental impact of returns, the challenges retailers face.
Yeah.
It's clear that this issue is a lot more complex than it seems on the surface.
It really is. And I think what's really interesting to me is how interconnected everything is.
Really?
Well, consumer behavior and business practices and environmental concerns and even technology.
Yeah.
They're all tied together.
All connected.
It is. It's all connected.
You talked about some solutions, but it seems like there's no easy answer.
No, not really.
It's going to take a collective effort
It will.
on consumers and retailers and innovators
Yeah.
to really create a more sustainable future for online shopping.
Right. And I think the first step is awareness.
Yeah, for sure. Like we've been talking about today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what these deep dives are all about.
Right. So to all of our listeners out there, next time you're shopping online, take a moment to think about the hidden costs of that buy now button.
Think about the journey that item's going to take, from the warehouse to your door and maybe back again.
Ask yourself, do I really need this? Can I find this somewhere local?
What are the return policies?
Right.
Are they committed to sustainability?
Every purchase we make is a choice.
It is.
And we have the power to make more informed and responsible choices.
Well said. I love that.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to hear from you, the listener.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
What stood out to you?
What solutions resonate with you?
We'd love to hear your perspective.
It's interesting to think about how our choices as consumers can contribute to like a bigger change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just about, reducing returns, but like what happens to the stuff that does get sent back? We talked about Return Auto and their approach.
Right.
But what other solutions are out there?
Well, a lot of exciting innovations are happening in this space.
Right.
Some companies are focusing on re-commerce.
Re-commerce.
Yeah. Creating platforms to resell returned items or gently used items.
Okay.
And some companies are exploring ways to upcycle materials.
Interesting.
Or recycle them.
So giving them a new life.
Exactly, like a circular economy for returns.
Right. That's pretty cool.
It is. It's very encouraging.
It's like turning a problem into an opportunity.
Exactly.
But this really highlights the need for collaboration.
It does.
Retailers need to be more transparent about their return practices and invest in sustainable solutions.
Yeah.
Consumers need to be more mindful about their shopping habits.
Absolutely.
And innovators need to, keep pushing the boundaries.
Right.
Finding new and creative ways to, minimize waste and maximize value.
It's a shared responsibility.
Yeah. And it's not just about the environment. There's also the social impact.
It's true.
To consider, the workers in the warehouses who are processing all these returns.
It's a very physically demanding job.
Yeah,
And the sheer volume can be really overwhelming.
especially during like peak seasons, like the holidays.
Exactly.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into e-commerce returns, I'm left with a sense of, I guess, cautious optimism.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely a complex issue,
Oh.
but people are becoming more aware of the challenges.
Right.
And they're starting to look for solutions.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy fix or a quick fix.
Right.
But I think we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. And the key is to keep talking about it.
Absolutely.
Keep exploring new ideas.
And keep pushing.
And pushing for a better future for e-commerce.
A more sustainable and equitable future.
Well said. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
It has.
I hope everyone listening has learned something new and maybe even feels a bit inspired to make some changes in their own online shopping habits.
Me too.
So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, happy shopping, everyone.
Happy and mindful shopping.
Right and mindful.
See you next time.